Okay, looks like we're live. Did I think? Looks like we are live. Okay. Hey folks, looks like we're live with some more fighting fantasy. I hope you're excited about interactive fiction as I am. So let's start. First of all, let's see who are we playing with. This orc lady with an ugly helmet. This really angry lady. Wow, this guy has seen a fight or two. Let's go with our old friend Jim Simmons from the band Kith. Okay. What shall we play? Let's decide what kind of book we are going to try out, shall we? Let's see. How about a Citadel of Chaos? Let's go with that. Okay. You know, game, you could have done this earlier, but sure. Yes, let's go with that. The Citadel of Chaos is a fighting fantasy game book, an interactive adventure in which you are the hero. Oh my! You can only win by choosing the correct path, finding equipment, avoiding traps, and surviving combat. You will need to be as wise as an owl and as cunning as a weasel. Aha. Interesting. But what about the other stuff? First of all, let's not go into... Yes, this is much better. So, you can only win by choosing the correct path, finding equipment, avoiding traps, and surviving combat. You will need to be as wise as an owl and as cunning as a weasel to triumph over the challenges ahead of you. How intense. How intense indeed. Okay. Before embarking on your adventure, you must determine your own strengths and weaknesses with a series of dice rolls. You have been preparing for a quest by training yourself in swordplay to improve your skill and exercising vigorously to build up your stamina. Well, I don't know about sword fighting, but sure. Before making your rolls, you must choose from one of the 3 difficulty settings. This gamebook has been designed for optimum challenge on the adventure difficulty mode. For newcomers to fighting fantasy, we recommend adventure or free read modes. For experienced readers already familiar with the printed versions of this gamebook, we recommend hardcore hero mode. Sure. So, do we play as an adventurer, hardcore hero, or as a free read, which I guess is, not I guess, I can see is just a read through mode. So let's go with the adventurer, because last time I played the Blood Pirates mode, it was exactly how Steve Jackson designed it, so let's go with that. And maybe we should just lower the audio for a bit. I think it would be... Yeah. You have chosen the adventure difficulty mode. Before continuing, you must calculate your initial stamina. Your stamina score reflects your general constitution, your will to survive, your determination, and overall fitness. The higher your stamina score, the longer you will be able to survive. You must roll 2 dice and add 12 to the number rolled. This is then entered into the stamina box on your adventure sheet. Stamina will go up and down during your journey, but if your stamina falls to 0, you die and your adventure is over. Yes, how unfortunate. Let's determine our stamina. Let's hope it's a good roll. Not bad, not terrible. Pretty good. Stamina is 21. Okay, let's determine our skill. Now, our skill reflects swordsmanship, general fighting experience, and the higher it is, the better we are off. Your starting skill is determined by rolling one die and adding 6 to the number. This is then entered into the skill box on your adventure sheet. Your adventure sheet can be accessed at any time using the menu at the bottom of the screen. Roll your starting skill. Okay. Oh, really? Wow, this was terrible. 1 plus 7. So 1 plus base of 6 means our skill is 7, which means we are completely inept. Our hand-to-eye coordination is one of a donkey, a drunken donkey, and let's just avoid fighting altogether, I think. Unless we have amazing luck to counter it. So let's try it with our luck. Your luck score indicates how naturally lucky a person you are. Luck and magic are facts of life in the fantasy kingdom you are about to explore. Your starting luck is determined by rolling one die and adding 6 to the number. This is then entered into the luck box on your adventure sheet. Roll your starting luck. Okay, let's roll our starting luck. 4 plus, on the lower side, but could have been much worse. Now let's roll our magic. I don't think this one was in the pirates mode, but sure, let's try it. In the Citadel of Chaos, in addition to skill, stamina and luck scores, you must also determine your magic score by rolling 2 dice and adding 6 to the result. Okay. Let's try and roll this. Your magic score determines how many spell scrolls you may prepare for use during your quest through the Citadel. Oh, so we have to prepare essentially are they reusable? They have just one use, these magic scrolls. Okay, let's roll. This is not great. So we're terrible at magic. Our stamina is okay. The only thing we have going for us is stamina, really. Other else is it's all pretty not great. But maybe it will just be good overall for our oh, let's see. What else? Let's just change the thing. Okay. Now that you've determined your magic, and we did, now that we determined our magic score, you may use it to select your spell scrolls. Your magic score determines how many scrolls you may prepare for your journey to the Citadel. For example, if you have a magic score of 13, you may use 13 scrolls during your adventure. Okay, you may choose multiples of the same scroll, or instead choose a wide range of different scrolls. Touch a spell scroll to learn more about what it can do. You can choose 10 more spells. What does it do? So, creature copy. Creates a duplicate of the creature you are fighting. Okay, let's go next. ESP. This spell will allow you to tune into psychic wavelengths. Can be used, for example, to read a creature's mind. Okay, enhanced strength. Greatly increases your strength. Useful when fighting strong creatures or breaking through doors. But be warned, this spell is at times difficult to control. I don't think we need enhanced strength. Our strength is, I think, decent. Fool's Gold. This spell creates an illusion that causes ordinary rock to appear as gold. Useful when you're low on actual gold. That sounds very useful. Illusion. You may create a convincing illusion which can be used to fool others. The spell immediately cancels if anything happens to dispel the illusion. It is most effective when used against intelligent creatures. So, not against bears. Depending on how intelligent bears are in this universe. Impose weakness. Strong creatures become weaker in battle when this spell is used against them. Not effective against all creature types. Yeah, I think this is one immediately a useful one. Levitation. Frees the recipient from the effects of gravity, allowing them to float freely in the air under your control. Okay, let's take Illusion. Creature copy. Another creature copy. Gold. More impose weakness. This. Levitation. And 1 ESP. Okay. What? We had more? Okay, then I don't want levitation. I can't choose anymore. Great. Great, great, great. I now wanted to... Oh, these are actually good. Well, it's all my fault, so let's roll with it. Once you have finished selecting your spell scrolls, you must prepare your adventurer's equipment. Okay, let's go. You begin your adventure with a sword, a leather armor, a backpack, and a lantern to light your way. Unlike most fighting fantasy adventures, in Citadel of Chaos you begin your adventure without provisions. Normally, provisions may be consumed at any time, excluding combat, by accessing the adventure sheet, and restore 4 stamina. As a budding wizard, some wizard I am, you instead have access to restore stamina spell scrolls. Those restore 5 stamina when used and can be cast at any time, excluding combat, by accessing the adventure sheet. Be sure to pay close attention to your stamina and restore it regularly. Your restore skill and restore luck spell scrolls can be used in a similar fashion. Simply select them from adventure sheet when you wish to restore those scores. Although you will be able to view all your other spell scrolls through your adventure sheet, they will only be usable during certain moments throughout your adventure. Okay. During your quest, you may encounter characters and items that alter your 3 scores: stamina, skill, and luck. Usually, these scores may only ever be restored to their initial amount. On very rare occasions, a particular page may grant an effect that defies this rule. Aside from these occasions, some magic items may also allow you to exceed your initial scores. Interesting. So there is kind of a hard limit, but it's not as hard as you might think. Once you have readied your equipment, you may begin. Good luck, you'll need it. I sure will. The lawful good folk of the Vale of Willow have lived for some 8 years in awe and fear of the demi-sorcerer Balthus Dire. Okay, so what is a demi-sorcerer exactly? We know what a demigod is. Demigod is usually someone who has attributes of a deity, but has some features that mortals have. Usually a demigod in Greek mythology is usually someone who is an offspring of a god and a mortal. Like Hercules, he's a demigod, I guess. And what's a demi-sorcerer? How can you be a half sorcerer? And all? Okay, sure, let's roll with it. In awe, since his power is truly awesome, yes, this Balthus Dire, and in fear ever since word leaked from his domain that his ambitious plans of conquest were to commence with the Vale itself. How ominous. A fateful half-elf sent on spying mission to the Black Tower came galloping back to the Vale 3 days ago with a frantic warning. From within the caverns of Kragenrock, Balthus Dire had recruited an army of chaotics and was preparing them to attack the Vale within the week. The good King Salamon was a man of action. Messengers were sent throughout the Vale that day to prepare defenses and to summon folk to action. Riders had also been sent to the great forest of Yor to warn the half-elves who lived there and to make an appeal for allied forces. King Salamon was also a wise man. He knew well that the news would inevitably reach the Grand Wizard of Yore, a sorcerer of great power who lived deep within the forest. The wizard was old and would not last throughout a battle of this magnitude, but he schooled a number of young magicians, and perhaps one of his students in the magic arts with courage and ambition would aid the king and his subjects. You are the star pupil of the Grand Wizard of Yore. He has been a difficult master, and your own impatience has often gotten the better of you. Perhaps a little too headstrong, you left immediately for Salomon's court. Doesn't sound like me, to be honest. The king welcomed you enthusiastically and explained his plan. The battle could be avoided without bloodshed if Balthus were to be assassinated before his army could be amassed. The mission ahead of you is extremely perilous. Balthus Dire is surrounded in his citadel by a multitude of appalling creatures. Although magic is your strongest weapon, again, I don't think so, not if we're judging by our rolls. There will be times when you must rely on your sword to survive. King Solomon has briefed you on your mission and warned you of the dangers that lie ahead. One way through the Citadel is the best for you to take. If you discover it, you will be successful with a minimum of personal risk. It may take you several trips to find this route. You leave the Vale of Willow and begin the long hike to the Black Tower. At the foot of the hill of Cragen Rock, you can see its outline against the dark sky. Now turn over. Sure. And we see an illustration of a dog bear thing and a dog primate. Gorilla doggo. I'm gonna stop. The sun sets. As twilight turns to darkness, you start your climb up the hill towards that forbidding shape silhouetted against the night sky. The citadel is less than an hour's climb. Some distance from its walls, you stop to rest. Gazing up at the fortress, a sense of dreadful foreboding fills you, like a fearful specter from which there is no escape. The hairs on your neck prickle as you look towards it. I mean, sure, judging by this illustration, we're at a very strange place. What was the name of that film with Marlon Brando? The Island Dr. Moreau? Yeah, looks like a scene from that. You brush your fears aside and with grim resolve march onwards towards the main gate, where you know guards will be waiting. You consider your options. You have already thought about claiming to be a herbalist, come to treat a guard with a fever. You could pose as a trader or an artisan, perhaps a carpenter. You can even be a nomad seeking shelter for the night. As you ponder the possibilities and the yarns you may have to spin to the guards, you reach the main trail leading up to the gates. 2 lanterns burn on either side of the portcullis. What's a portcullis? It's like a fancy gate term. I don't know. Okay. Sure. You hear muffled gruntings as you approach, and 2 misshapen creatures step forward. Also, these are the 2 misshapen guard creatures. I would not trust this one on the right with guarding anything. Not with that face. On the left stands an ugly creature with the head of a dog and the body of a great ape, flexing its powerful arms. Its opposite number is indeed its opposite, with the head of an ape and the body of a large dog. This latter guard approaches you on all fours. It stops some meters in front of you, raises itself on its hind legs, and addresses you. Which story will you opt for? Will you pose as a herbalist? So, we can pose as a herbalist, a tradesman, or a nomad. So, it all depends on how gullible the creatures are. We don't know that. They address me, but I don't know how they address me. How intelligent they are. So maybe try to claim that we are nomads seeking shelter. The ape dog tells you that no one is allowed into the Black Tower after dark. You will have to look elsewhere for shelter. Oh, that's too bad. You may either resign yourself to a fight, or you may pick up a stone and cast a fool's gold spell on it, offering them a nugget of gold as a bribe to let you in. Now, do these creatures even value gold? Do they care about physical goods? They may care about food and shelter and stuff, but do they have any use for monetary anything, really? So, let's try and... well, what can we lose? Let's try Fool's Gold Spell Scroll. Oh, so they do like shiny stuff. They accept your offering and summon the gatekeeper, who opens a small doorway in the portcullis to let you in. You leave them squabbling over the gold nugget. Turn to 251. Okay, let's turn. You walk toward into a spacious open courtyard surrounded by large walls. Various lights are burning and groups of figures are shuffling around in the darkness. In the center of the courtyard is a large monument of some kind, perhaps a fountain. Looking across the yard, you can see what appears to be the main entrance to the tower. What will you do? What will we do indeed? If you want to creep around the walls, so we can creep around the walls towards the tower, stride boldly across the courtyard ahead, or tiptoe through the shadows towards one of the groups. Yeah, let's probably do the latter. Cautiously and keeping well out of sight, you creep through the darkness around the edge of the courtyard. There are two groups of creatures in front of you. To the right, you can see two human-like figures talking under a torch faced into the wall. To the left, a group of 4 creatures of varying shapes and sizes, and they are sitting around the fire eating. Will you approach the two by the torch? Will we approach them? Will we approach them? Okay, let's see. Do we approach the... the two by the torch or the group around the fire? Let's approach the group to the fire. They're an ugly bunch. A motley crew sit around the fire. A warty-faced orc is handing out scraggy chunks of half-cooked meat to the others. Ugh. That's nasty. That's nasty. A snarling dwarf with green skin is complaining about the size of his piece, while 2 scruffy goblins, a man and a woman, are cuddling each other. So, but where are they? Oh, there they are. These two. They giggle and laugh, and every so often she slaps his ugly face, causing more merriment. As you approach, they stop and turn around to look at you with unwelcoming faces. They sneer at your neat appearance, and the female goblin whispers some comment to her companion. In front of the dwarf, you can see an open box. You can just make out a few rolled up pieces of parchment within it. Okay. How will you respond to their cold reception? If you want to sit down with them around the fire, turn to 134. If you want to ask whether you may join them, turn to 149. Let's try and be polite and ask them. They are not interested in your company and bid you on your way. You may either carry on towards the tower, turn to the left to investigate the monument in the center of the courtyard, or sit down at the fire despite their disinterest. Let's investigate the monument, I think. Yeah, sure. Why not? Why not? Indeed. Okay, what else? What else do we have? You cast your eyes over the strange structure. It appears not to be a fountain, but a temple of some sort. To one side there is a door. To one side there is a door which you may investigate, or you may press onwards towards the Citadel itself. If you wish to press onwards, turn to 156. Or if you wish to investigate the temple, turn to 362. Yeah, let's investigate. We are here for a reason. The door opens and the small room inside is lit by candlelight. Cautiously you look inside to see a strange sight. On a stone altar in the middle of the chamber there are 3 silver chalices, each containing a different colored liquid, one clear, one red, and one milky. Fluttering around the altar are 3 small winged gremlin-type creatures, all chirping excitedly. These are the goblin creatures. Every so often one lands on the altar and takes a sip of the milky liquid. The open door creaks on its hinges and startles them. They whirl around to see you and become very excited. Excited how? Hostile excited, or do we enter the chamber or close the door quickly? There's no turning back. Well, there is, but let's not. Let's live dangerously. As you enter, the gremlins flutter and squeak excitedly, then fly past you through the door and out into the night. You are now alone with the chalices. Will you risk taking a drink? If so, which will you choose? To drink the clear liquid, turn to 298. To try the red liquid, 267. If the milky liquid takes your fancy, turn to 98. Well, I'm pretty sure something bad will happen. At worst we will die, at best we will be turned into some kind of animal hybrid. But let's drink the clear liquid. As your hands close around the chalice, it begins to fizz and foam, spitting at you as you raise it to your lips. Are you sure you want to taste it? It is not too late to make another choice. Turn to 58. But if you are determined to sample the concoction, turn to 141. What can go wrong? Famous last words. Ooh, the liquid tastes salty and you break into a cold sweat as it goes down. You begin to tremble and try steady yourself on the altar. However, you trip forward, knocking the other 2 chalices onto the floor, spilling the other liquids. You slump to the floor yourself, feeling extremely ill and hazy. As if in a dream, you see a vision of a strange, muscular creature with 2 heads, a long tail, and a scaly gray skin. In its hand, it holds a large bunch of keys. A mouse runs across the table at which it is sitting, and it shrieks loudly. The cry wakes you up with a start and you realize where you are. You pick yourself up and grab the door handle. You must have some fresh air. You leave the chamber, rest for a few moments outside, and set off to continue your quest. Well, that wasn't bad. Wasn't too bad. Wasn't great, but wasn't too bad, was it? No. Oh. Well. Okay. So much about that. As you stride across the open courtyard, you notice that you are walking alongside a small mound, almost like a buried pipeline running from the Black Tower to the temple. You bend over to investigate it. Could it perhaps have been made by a mole of some kind? As you touch the mound, it caves in, and to your horror, a long grey tentacle covered in warty growths bursts out of the ground and wraps itself around your leg. Now that's a sight. Terrible sight. How do we fight this thing? Let's see, how do we fight this thing? Do we draw our sword? And we are not great at our sword at all. Do we cast a levitation spell, or do we... Well, a fire spell would be nice, but a certain idiot did not think to turn the page and select a fire spell. So let's cast a levitation spell and run away. You pull the levitation spell scroll from your haversack, and quickly recite the incantation. As the scroll fizzles into nothingness, you are magically lifted into the air. But the tentacle will not let go, and the pain in your leg becomes excruciating. You decide to return to Earth before your leg is wrenched from its socket. Oh, that was useless. Do we fight the tentacle? Yes, there is no other way. We must fight. You draw your sword and hack at the tentacle. The tentacle will not fight back like a normal creature, but instead it is trying to drag you into a large hole in the ground, which is opening around its base. It isn't trying to hurt you, but it is instead trying to get a firm grip on you. It won't deal you any damage during this battle, but if it manages to score 3 hits against you, it will succeed in dragging you into its lair. If you defeat this foe, you can peel the tentacle off your leg and proceed to the main entrance of the Black Tower. So, let's fight. Let's fight, Jim. You have a lantern, backpack, sword, leather armor, bunch of scrolls. Okay. 21 stamina, 7 skill, and 10 luck. Let's fight. Oh! We are triumphant. That wasn't too bad. That wasn't too bad. Okay. Let's turn to the next page. In front of you is a large wooden door, firmly locked. You may either knock 3 times for the guard or use a strength spell to try and open it. Let's wait for the guard. Let's not use a strength spell scroll, because we might make a lot of noise and wake up, startle the guards. Let's try and be civil. Look at this guy. He's a rhino warrior. The door opens and a large brutish creature steps out. It has a sharp horn in the middle of its forehead and its skin appears to be armor plated. It grunts to ask you what you want and demands the password before letting you in. If not, you will have to bluff your way in, because we don't know the password, so let's bluff it. Oh, we'll have to test our luck, and our luck is really bad. You think quickly. You reach into your bag and pull out a handful of weeds. Showing them to the creature, you explain that you are a herbalist and have come to treat the Lord's librarian, who is critically ill. The messenger never told you of any passwords. Will the guard believe you? Let's test our luck. Whoa, that was good. You're lucky. You needed a luck score or 10 or below, and you rolled a luck score of 10. So we just had the exact amount of luck we needed. How fortunate. The guard believes your tale and lets you in with a grunt. Of course. You are in a narrow hallway. This continues for several meters and ends in a doorway. Halfway along the passage you can see an archway where some steps lead downwards. Will you go forwards to the door? Turn to 5. Or will you creep down the steps? Turn to 344. Let's go down the steps. You follow the stairs downwards. The air is cool and stagnant. At the foot of the stairs is a door. Will we try the door or do we return? Let's try the door. We are already there. The door is locked. You may try to break it down by charging it with your shoulder, or you may cast a strength spell on yourself and try to wrench the door off its hinges. Let's try to live dangerously. Your super-powered hands grip the handle and tug. It comes off in your grip. You bunch up a fist and slam it into the center of the door. The wood cracks, allowing you to break through into the room beyond. Okay. You now stand in a large round room. It is lit by a single torch fixed into one wall. There is no furniture in the room save for a rough wooden table and a chair in the center. Hovering above the table, fast asleep. How is he asleep? We made so much noise with our strength spell. How the hell is he asleep? And he's a very small man dressed in a green shirt and pantaloons. And he doesn't look like a man, he looks like a goblin. He cannot be more than a meter tall, and you cannot believe that he is still asleep after your noisy entrance. Exactly what I was saying. You hear a creak and turn to your right in time to see a small catapult fire a missile of some sort straight at you. It is going to hit you unless you use a shielding spell. I don't have a shielding spell because I'm a dummy. So let's not. You try to duck but cannot avoid the full impact of the missile, which hits you on the forehead and splatters all over your face. Ouch. You brace yourself, waiting perhaps for an acidic reaction to take place, but the mushy liquid merely drips off your face onto the ground. Cautiously you test it, first with your finger, then with your tongue. You have just been hit by a ripe tomato. You turn to face the sleeping figure who is beginning to stir. Cautiously you approach this little man. As you get close, a single eye opens and looks you straight in the face. A wide grin spreads between the creature's ears and he disappears. "Good morning to you," says a chirpy little voice behind you. And you swivel around to see him standing there, still grinning. Oh, so it's an Irish stereotype. "I'm O'Sheamus, the leprechaun." He chuckles and holds his hand out to you. He seems friendly enough. Will you shake his hand and try to befriend him? Or do we draw our sword? Of course, I'll try to befriend this strange leprechaun. You grasp his hand and introduce yourself and cry out as the nerves down your arm go numb. O'Sheamus bursts out laughing. You lose 1 skill point as you were using your sword arm. You are becoming angry, but the little man continues to shake your hand and laugh. A laugh comes from behind you and you look around to see him floating in the air grinning, but you are still shaking his hand in front of you. Or are you? In fact, you now realize that you are frantically shaking hands with a stuffed dummy, which is flopping around on the end of your arm as you shake it. You throw it to the ground, but it is stuck to your hand. The situation is ludicrous, and you are becoming very angry. "Just a little joke," he says. And he snaps his fingers. The dummy disappears. "Now, what can I do for you?" "Well, for start, you can give me a skill point back." Do we fight him or do we uphold our civility? Let's do that. Let's do that. Oh, I shouldn't go this way, says O'Sheamus. These are not pleasant parts. These 3 doors are the only ways onward. 2 of them are very dangerous and the other is very smelly. On the opposite side of the room are 3 doors. One has a brass handle, one has a copper handle, and one has a bronze handle. Which will you choose? If you try the brass handle door, turn to 207. Do we choose the copper handle door or the bronze handle door? Let's try and ask him for an advice. Which would I take, eh? He muses. Let's see. I would not take the 2 doors to the left of the copper-handled one, nor the door to the right of the bronze-handled one. Which one do we choose? Well, let's go with the brass one. You open the door and peer into the darkness beyond. You walk a couple of paces forward, allowing your eyes to accustom themselves to the blackness. You close the door behind you, bidding the leprechaun farewell. A sudden intense flash of light bursts out in front of you. You shield your eyes and then rub them, but you cannot see. Panic hits you as you hear a low growling noise. Padded footsteps come closer and you cry out in pain. Oh no. And as this unseen creature roars and empties its sharp teeth in your leg. What will you do? We don't have a strength spell scroll. We can use a weakness spell scroll, or we can draw a sword and slash out at the creature and probably cut off our leg. So let's try a weakness spell scroll, shall we? With this. You cast your weakness spell. You wait for the creature's strength to fade. But as its teeth continue to maul you, you are dismayed to find that its attack is becoming more ferocious. You cannot feel your leg now. The pain is intense. You feel faint and lose consciousness as the jaws close on your throat. Okay, we're not dead. That's the good part. Okay, let's see what's the bad part here. Doesn't sound great. You awake and look around. As your memory returns, you're amazed that you can see. Your leg feels tender but is uninjured. You hear a small chuckle coming from above you and suddenly the whole thing makes sense. Floating above you is O'Sheamus, now laughing loudly. This whole thing has been one big practical joke. You are enraged and leap to your feet. But as you glare at the funny little man rolling about in the air in hysterics, you can't help but see the funny side too. You chuckle, then giggle, then laugh loudly. For some time, the two of you roar with laughter until tears stream down your faces. When you're both able to control yourselves, you eventually settle down to chat. He's a pleasant little man. Before you leave, he says, "Indeed, you're a good sport. Your way ahead is fraught with danger, though, but perhaps this will help you." With a wave of his hand, a sword and a plate appear on the table. The sword is a magic battle sword and increases your skill by 1 point during battle. The plate is, in fact, a silver mirror of fine workmanship. You take these with you, but you will have to leave your old sword behind. You bid Oshima's farewell and leave the room. Which door will you leave by? Well, this time let's try the copper door. The door opens and you enter a narrow corridor. You follow it for some time until you finally come to another door with this shadowy figure. Is this his hair or smoke? This time a wide carved door with the inscription "Wine Cellar" seen into it. You try the handle and it opens. Poking your head around the door you can see rows and rows of racks full of bottles. Full of wine? Or something more insidious? Who knows? The room is dimly lit by several candles. Your opening the door has caused a little bell to ring and a figure is limping towards you up to one of the aisles. Will you draw your sword and prepare to defend yourself, or see what this person have to say? No, I'm gonna order some wine. Let's see if we can order some wine. There, we can order some wine. The elf! So that was an elf. Approaching you is skinny and ragged. He asks whether you're a guest or an adventurer. You tell him you're a guest, come down to sample the wine he keeps in his famous wine cellar. With a certain pride, he shows you the vintage bottles he keeps for his lord, the demi-sorcerer. Some of them, he claims, have magical powers. He offers to let you sample the wine. Which vintage will you sample? If you would like to try the red wine, turn to here. If you want to try the white wine, here, or rosé, turn to 334. And here we see a quality control issue, I guess. Because this is not a bug, but this is an issue with the fonts. If a sign is unsupported by the font that is being used into the game, I guess it defaults to the next font that supports any kind of diacritic, and looks like this one got away. So what shall we do? Well, if it were me, and this is me, I'd take rosé, so let's take rosé. You take a couple of sips, not bad. You take a mouthful, but as you do so, you wonder why the elf is chuckling. Suddenly, he asks whether you really are a guest. Although your mind is confirming that you are indeed a visitor, your voice is telling him that you are not. So this is kind of a truth line. You have come to put an end to Balthus's dire plan of conquest. You curse as you realize that the wine must have been spiked with the truth serum. Doesn't matter, head wine. The Black Elf now knows of your mission and must be prevented from telling others. You draw your sword, and as you do, he pulls a small metallic device from his pouch tied around his waist. With a touch, it turns into a saw-edged weapon. That sounds cool. That sounds really cool. Okay, let's turn to 275. You recognize the device as a pocket myriad, an enchanted gadget which can become any one of a number of weapons or useful artifacts. You both close for a battle. You may fight him with your sword, or try casting a spell using a scroll. Do we use a creature copy, weakness spell, illusion spell, or do we fight? Let's test our luck and fight. The elf approaches armed with his pocket myriad and is determined to finish you off. You must fight. Let's fight. He has 4 stamina and 8 skill. We have 21 stamina and 6 skill out of 7. Let's fight. Okay, yeah, that went well. Let's try again. Let's not rely on our luck too much. Okay, that was Not great, he hit us. And he's done. We are triumphant, and we have defeated the master of the cellar, so let's go. You go through his pockets and find 8 gold pieces. The pocket mirror has unfortunately been damaged in the fight, but you may be able to find some use for it and take it with you. That's a shame. Now you may either investigate the wine cellar or press on through it to the door at the far end of the room. If you wish to investigate, turn to 242, or do you continue your quest? Let's investigate, maybe there's something valuable. The bottles and caskets contain hundreds of different types of wine. Some are exceedingly old and valuable. You decide there is a room in your pack for 1 bottle. In a corner of the room, there is a table laid out for sampling with 2 bottles and glasses. You could sample some of the wine. Do we try red or white? Let's try red. Guess this wasn't a good idea. You taste the wine, and as you are considering its flavor, you hear a clinking noise. You turn to look in the direction that the noise is coming from, and you are horrified to see that the bottles in the racks are moving on their own. 1 bottle flies from its place and hurtles towards you, narrowly missing your head and smashing on the wall behind you. Another flies at you, then another, until you are being pelted by bottles from all directions. That's a cool scene. You realize that your only defense is to use a shielding spell, which we do not have, so... You duck and cover your head. A bottle hits you, then another, but you don't feel a thing. How could this be? Then you realize what's happening. The wine must have contained some hallucinatory potion that is making you imagine the bottle attack. In an instant, the noise ceases. You look up to see that, as you suspected, all the bottles are in place on their racks. With great relief, you press onwards and leave the wine cellar. So, maybe it's not such a bad thing that we didn't take any of the shielding spells, because each and every time it was an illusion, so... At the far end of the wine cellar is a wooden door, which you try. It opens out into a passageway which leads onwards for several meters. Okay, some way along the passage you arrive at a 4-way junction. You take a path to the north, which eventually leads you to a large wooden door. You can hear nothing by listening at the keyhole. Will you try to open the door slowly and quietly? If so, turn to 308. Otherwise, you could try charging the door. Let's turn it slowly. The handle turns and you step into a dark room. Okay, let's go. That's an ugly thing, golem. You look around the room. It is lit only by your torch. Although a fairly large room, it has little furniture in it, although a large boulder, sliced flat, resembles a table, and a smaller rock forms a sort of a stool behind it. In one corner, a pile of rocks are held together with mud. You cannot imagine their purpose, although they support 3 wooden chests. Then you jump with fright as your torch lights up a large creature, seemingly made of rock itself, standing by a door. It is roughly human-shaped, although somewhat larger. Its eyes are staring straight at you, but you cannot be sure it is actually seeing you. Okay, let's try for another door. Do we try to speak with it? Or let's move slowly toward the boxes? Yeah, that doesn't sound smart. So, what shall we do? What shall we do indeed? It's a good question. Let's try and speak with the dude. The creature must communicate in some method unknown to you. You hail it in all the languages you know, but it continues to stand silently. You make a move towards the center of the room. Of course. At your first movement, the creature seems to break from its trance and steps towards you. Seeing this, you may either run for the door at the far end of the room or make for the boxes and risk taking on this silent giant. Do we run for the door or do we make for the boxes? Let's run for the door. You open the door and step forward into a passageway which runs eastward for several meters and then ends at the foot of a staircase. You climb the stairs and eventually find yourself in a narrow passageway. A short distance ahead you can see an opening into a large, well-lit room. You press on forwards. Okay. The room you are in is in some sort of grand dining hall. A long table, large enough to seat some 40 or 50 people, stands in the center, edged with chairs. Various doors and passageways lead from the room, but you are particularly interested in two wide staircases which lead upwards to either end of a balcony overlooking the hall. Paintings and suits of armor decorate the walls. The room is empty. Okay, what would you like to investigate? Explore the left-hand staircase upwards. Take the right-hand staircase upwards. Take a closer look at paintings or inspect the suits of armor. Well, since this is a fantasy game and suits of armor are almost always automatons just waiting to spring out, or even mimics. So let's try and let's inspect the suits of armor, because I'm sure they will come to life. The suits of armor are a variety of shapes and sizes, and you shiver to think of the strange creatures they must have been made for. Perhaps you may yet come across some of them. As you examine one particularly grand suit, its hand suddenly raises and whacks you across the face. Of course, I had to do this. You stagger back, spitting blood. You lose 2 stamina points, because I'm not a smart man. But the armor makes no further move, and you decide it might be prudent to get away from those style armor suits. You may either proceed left hand staircase or right hand. Let's go on the right hand. The stairs are well worn and creak under your weight. Cautiously you climb up the balcony. Along the balcony there are 3 doors. Which would you like to take? Left one, center, right. Let's go right. Oh, just a gargoyle? A naked gargoyle. The door opens and you enter the room. It is quite large and is decorated with various carvings. It looks something like an artist's studio, and a number of unfinished stone statues line one wall. In the center of the room, a large stone gargoyle is standing on a stone carved box. As you enter the room, the creature creaks as its head turns towards you. Slowly it comes alive, hopping down off its pedestal. It blocks your way through the door on the far side. Let's try and get away. We can draw our sword in advance. We can select a spell scroll and cast some magic, or we can grab something from our bag, but I don't think we have anything in the bag that might prove useful. So let's try and run away. You listen at the door and can hear squeaky voices laughing and squabbling. You try the handle and the door opens. Inside is a brightly colored room. A few small beds are in one corner and they are strewn about the floor. Small mannequins of various brutish creatures. Along the right-hand wall is a large box, and just beyond the box is a door. In the center of the floor, and looking up at you quizzically, are 3 infant creatures. They are human-like but have green skin, pointed ears, and slit-like eyes. What will your approach be? If you draw your sword and prepare to fight, well, we are not gonna pull an Anakin Skywalker and kill the younglings. Look in your packs for something to offer them, or walk confidently. Let's give them something. What item will you take from your pack and offer the infants? If you wish to try Pocket Myriad, try sword. Yeah, the only thing we have is a Pocket Myriad, and it's broken, so it might serve as a toy, I guess. They take your Pocket Myriad and play with it gleefully. While they are suitably distracted, you can creep past them to the door on the far side of the room. So far, so good. As you stride past them, the little creatures watch you silently. They seem merely to find you interesting. You feel that something is not quite right here. You leave the room and head down a short corridor. Some meters down you find yourself at the foot of a staircase. This is a spiral staircase which leads right up into the Citadel tower. You climb the stairs cautiously and eventually arrive at a small landing with two doorways in front of you. Will you take the left-hand door or the right-hand door? What will we take? What will we take? Let's go to the left. The door opens, allowing you into the large circular room. You scratch your head quizzically. In the center of the room, you can see a small island. How big is this cellar? Surrounded by a wide trench on which stands a chest locked with metal fastenings. The trench is too wide to jump and is very deep. Just inside the door is a length of a rope. A door leads from the room opposite the door you came in through. So what do we do? How do we deal with this strange conundrum? Do we ignore the box, cast a strength spell, or pick up a rope and formulate a plan? Let's formulate a plan. We do have a rope. An idea strikes you. You tie the rope into a loop with slip knot at the end. Whirling that rope around your head, you try to snare a chest. After several throws, your loop goes over a chest and slip knot tightens around it. You pull and the chest shifts. You pull once and it falls over the edge and down into the trench. But to your dismay, the box is enormous and pulls you right over with it. And if we haven't wasted our levitation spell on that tentacle, we could have saved ourselves. So let's go. Oh, we died. Great. You fall into the trench. Frantically, you try to grasp the edge as you tumble over, but without success. Head over heels, you tumble down the pit, and your last memory is your final crash as you hit the ground below, which kills you instantly. You have failed your mission. The end. Yeah, that's about it, I guess. Thank you for watching. See you next time.